The Mets are what the Yankees desperately need right now. Ideally, every year would have a little 2015 in it. That year was a double postseason bonanza in New York City, both the Yankees and the Mets finding their way to the playoffs. It was also a year in which the two Eastern divisions played each other in interleague play, so that meant 6 games between the two instead of 4. 3 were played in April, and that was fun. But 3 were played in September, and those were games both teams had to win to maintain their places in their respective playoffs hunts. And if we are going to agree that no Subway Series game can really compete with the 2000 World Series in terms of importance and stakes, well, that was a close second. The Yankees took 2 out of 3 that weekend of September 18-20 at Citi Field. They crawled within 2½ games of first place, solidified their place atop the wild card standings, where they ultimately finished. And the Mets weren't bloodied too badly by their series loss. 6 days later, in Cincinnati, they'd clinch the NL East. But they were 3 games that provided a jolt of energy for the teams, and for the city, and offered the preview of what City would sound like a few weeks later, when it finally got to host some playoff games. Ideally, this is what these Subway Series games would be now, a little novelty and a lot of interesting baseball. But that's not going to happen every year. It didn't happen last year, when the series returned to its 2 in Queens, 2 in the Bronx format, when the Subway Series was actually obscured by the fact that the August 1st trading deadline happened about 3 hours before the first pitch of the first game, and by the fact that in the first time in memory, it was the Yankees selling and the Mets buying. The resulting split mattered little at the time. It seemed the Yankees had given up on the season, though that would prove premature conjecture, and that the Mets, despite adding Jay Bruce, didn't have a finishing kick in them. They did. The teams split the 4 games. And now, the teams both enter with their buzzes quieted, if not killed. The Mets are all about the kids. And the Yankees are coming off a devastating loss to the Red Sox Sunday night, 5½ games out, and now concentrating on fending off an army of wild card challengers. That's not exactly the kind of hook on which to hang a rivalry's hat. Mostly, the relevant baseball news this week is a simple one. The Yankees need to take advantage of the pockets of soft underbelly remaining on their schedule. And there are few pockets softer right now than these 2 games at Yankee Stadium and the 2 that follow at Citi. The Yankees need wins. They need to be merciless against the Mets. "I've been laughing," Joe Girardi said, though it's a 99.9% lock that he wasn't even smiling. "Our rivalry week is 10 days long, factoring in 6 with the Sox to go alongside these Mets games. It's kind of interesting how that worked out. But you have to play them at some point, and this is as good a time as any. Actually, it's the perfect time. The Mets have been picked apart like the last few slices of a meat lover's pizza, and while that has allowed for Aim Rosario and Dominic Smith to get playing time, it had reduced their thunder greatly. The Yankees are better. They should, at least, be 3 out of 4 better. And, really, have to be. Between now and Labor Day, the Yankees have 7 games with the Sox, and 3 with the Indians, with Jay Bruce taking aim at the right field porch, and 3 with the Mariners, one of the teams that standings still define as a wild card contender, even with an uber-crowded AL. That's 13 games against playoff contenders. That leaves 3 next week at Detroit, a bad team, but one that took 2 of 3 in the Bronx last week, and 4 with the Mets. This is the soft underbelly. This is where the Yankees need to build a cushion in the wild card, maybe mount one last assault on the Sox. That doesn't make a great Subway Series slogan, but it's the best we've got right now. The Subway Series, where one team in a surrendered season is trying to lead the other down a similarly lost path. Wait till next year, indeed.